Okay, hi. Well, I'm back, finally, with step 10. It's been a long break since the last video I did, and in full transparency, I had mouth surgery for implants, and so it was really hard to speak with the false teeth. So, thank goodness, I'm done with that a year later, and I'm back with step 10. So see if I can catch up. And we're going to talk about step 10. Continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. Now, a lot of people have different views on this step, on how they do this. You know, it talks about it in the 12 and 12 for Alcoholics Anonymous, about, you know, different ways of doing it, different times of day doing it. There's no set way of doing it. There's apps now to keep track. And so I'm just going to speak in a general way to this. Basically, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find out where my character defects trip me up, get me into trouble, especially when it comes to other people. I step on their toes and they retaliate. And so I want to be able to promptly admit when I'm wrong and spot it so that it doesn't turn into a bigger problem. So again, this step is really for me. It's not about the other person, although it's nice to be able to go to someone now with a clear mind, you know, whether it's from not drinking or from trying to control somebody else or trying to, you know, control my own behaviors, whatever it is, whatever the reason is that I started doing these steps. Hopefully by now in step 10, you've started to see some relief. You've started to see some changes, and they play out in our life. So step 10 helps us to continue to identify these defects on a daily basis. Now, because of the cards that I had talked about doing in step 6 and using them in step 7 and asking God to remove these defects of character, it's not like they're gone and they're gone for good. They'll keep cropping up, and I want to be familiar with them. So the cards help me familiarize myself with these character defects. And I always say, it's sort of like, I don't know if everybody is old enough to remember this, if they even still do it, but they used to put up the top 10, FBI's top 10 most wanted poster in the post office, assuming that you would be standing in line and you would have an opportunity to look at this picture of these people, and you would be able to sort of study their face and get to know them, so that if you see them out there in public, that you would be able to spot them, identify them. And also it says, not to approach them because they're dangerous. Ask for help. Don't go into it alone. Same thing here. Ask for help. When I see these character defects, I can ask God for help. I can talk to somebody else about it. But I want to be able to spot them faster. And so when I carry these cards around, and when I've been familiarizing myself in these last couple of steps, I've done 8 and 9. I've seen how detrimental and destructive they can be in my life. I want to be able to get them out faster, and that's what step 10 offers me the opportunity to do. Spot, admit, correct is something that the literature of Alcoholics Anonymous uses. The 3 A's is something that Al-Anon uses. Awareness, acceptance, and action. So I become aware that this is something that I'm doing. Here's that character defect showing it, rearing its ugly head again. I accept it like, yep, that's me. I know I do it. I have it on one of my cards. I've seen it. I've seen the effects it had in my life. I've seen the way that it's affected other people, and then I had to go make amends. And so now I want to take an action to do something different. I want to take an action to change this. And again, I have to ask for help. So I ask for help from God. Because a lot of, you know, like in the ABCs, a big book of AA, it says, no human power could have relieved me of my alcoholism. I also think no human power could relieve me of my anxiety, my anger, my resentment, my fear, my worry. So no human power can remove me, you know, can relieve me of these character defects, but God could and would if he were sought. And so that's what we're talking about. And so, you know, I need to be willing to do a little bit more than most other people, because if I am aware enough that I've had these things affect me and that they have been detrimental in my life, and I'm willing to do the work, I'm more, and I don't like to use this word because it has a different connotation now, but I'm more awake in my life. And you know, it talks about, it used to be like falling asleep at the wheel of your life. You know, I want to be awake when I'm driving this you know, life of mine through this world. I want to pay attention to how I affect others. And I also want to pay attention to how my defects bounce back and affect me. And I'm the one that pays the price. And sometimes a lot of people, if you've done the amends, you know that some people are like, what are you talking about? I didn't even know that that was going on. It didn't bother me. Don't worry about it. But it bothered me. So it was the idea of that old fairy tale about, I don't know if you call it a fairy tale, about the Princess and the Pea with the mattresses, and they were looking for the real princess, and then there was a pea underneath all this big high, pile of mattresses, and only the real princess would be able to tell if there was something that she just couldn't get a good night's sleep. And so one after another, all these women came in trying to prove they were a princess. And, how'd you sleep? No, I was great. I was great. Had a great sleep. Okay, that's it. Goodbye. And then finally, the real princess, who was probably awake, said that she couldn't just get comfortable. It was something about it. She just couldn't get comfortable, couldn't get a good night's sleep. And so that's because there was this one little thing way down deep that was bothering her. And, you have to do some work to uncover this stuff. But once we do, then we get to do the work to get it out, root it out, root and branch. They want it out. They don't want to just, cut the branch and leave it there to grow back. So it's going to come back at some point, most of them, in some way, shape, or form, if we are not doing the spiritual maintenance, the daily maintenance that it takes to stay on top of this stuff. So I don't have to be as affected by it, but it's always going to have the opportunity to come back if I'm not paying attention. And so I just wrote a couple of things down here. Bill W. is the co-founder of AA, and he talks about, the axiom that's true is always true. If I'm disturbed, it's always something about me. It's not something outside of myself. It's something about me. And so the good news about that is, even though I think like, oh, what are you blaming me for? I'm not taking the blame. I'm willing to see my part in it, because that's the only thing that I can change is me. So if I'm looking for these defects and I'm doing this daily step 10, which is, sort of taking stock, taking a quick inventory. How did I do today? Where did my defects crop up? And not only just the things that didn't work, but also the things that did work, because there's a lot of things that I'm doing so much better now than I used to do. And I'm paying so much more attention because I'm more awake. And there are things that I get to give myself some credit for. I was much nicer. I didn't retaliate. I didn't give my opinion. I didn't have to have the last word. That I could be kinder to someone. I didn't have to contradict someone, and even to myself. I didn't beat myself up for doing or thinking or saying something. I can be a little bit gentler with myself. And those are really the things that I also want to put on my inventory, because just like in step 4, the inventory is not all about the things that aren't working. There's a lot of things that are working, just like any inventory in any business. So, yeah, and Bill W. also said, we live in a state of anxious apartness. This is what we're trying to do. The first word of the first step is we, and that we need each other. We're all connected. Whether you like it or not, whether you know it or not, we're all connected. And so that my sense of being apart from is turned into being a part of as I do this work and I come into unity, whether it's through the groups of the 12-step programs or whether it's with my family or the people that I work with. But this has a unifying factor, these steps. And by now, step 10 will help me to stay on track and to remember that I want to live a different way. And if I want to live a different way, I have to keep watching out for the things that aren't working. Just like the FBI most wanted list, I have to watch out for them. And when they do crop up, I can ask for help with them. I can't do this alone. And so it talks about in the literature of the 12-step programs about, when I'm agitated or doubtful, to pause and ask for direction. And agitated and doubtful comes well before angry and scared. And so if I can catch myself before I get angry or scared, and I can take it to God, I can take it to somebody else, I can take it to my journal, take pen to paper, I'm usually able to slow that down and be able to find out where it is, that something is disturbing me. And it's usually in me. And so, yeah, I mean, so this reminds me that the work I'm doing here is not just so that I can, I always say, sit on the couch and eat bonbons and just, be like, woo, happy, joyous, and free. Now I got all this taken care of. The point of this is to be able to help somebody else and to be able to be the best person that I could be, so that when I go out into the world, this is who I am, this is what I'm presenting. And that also it's attraction, not promotion. Like, hey, you should do this work, you should do these 12 steps, this is life-changing. But it's more about going, hey, what's going on with you? How come you're so happy? I know you've had some struggles. I know that you've really been challenged by a lot of things. How come all of a sudden you're doing so well? And it's because I'm doing this work, and people are attracted to you because they want to know, why are you so stable? Why are you so, there's nothing that really gets me off the beam very far anymore. I always think about it like the balance beam in the gymnastics classes. You know, the balance beam is really good and steady. That doesn't really move. I definitely waver, I wobble, I fall off, but I get back on because my base, my foundation is solid. It talks about that in the AA 12 and 12, about my unshakable foundation. And that's my relationship with a higher power. And that's why I do this work on step 10, you guys, on a daily kind of a housekeeping, is to make sure that I'm staying like in the middle of this stream. I don't want to keep bumping up against the sides all the time. And when I do, I want to get back to center as quickly as possible because there's work to do. You know, people are out there, they're really hurting. There's really a lot of people looking for solutions outside of themselves to fix something that's going on inside. And these steps get us to that place. They point us to that solution. They point us back to this relationship with a power greater than ourselves that can do for us what we can't do for ourselves, which is restore me to sanity. The way I was living, because if you've come this far and you've listened to these videos, you know, by now you understand that the way I was living was insanity. I was doing something over and over, no matter what it is. It was drinking or drugs or trying to control somebody else's experience or, you know, gambling or shopping or eating, whatever it is that I'm not, you know, that wasn't working. To get to this point, I understand that there's a lot of people in the world that are suffering, and these steps are really very helpful. But I can't give away what I don't have. And how do I keep it? Is I pay attention, I do this 10-step work, and I work with others. Because when I listen to other people talking, I can hear myself, and then I can also remember there's still always going to be something to work on for myself. I called it Dive Deep with the 12 steps because there are just layers and layers and layers here. You know, I start off maybe like the big glaring chunks of self-truth, like my drinking or my drugs or my controlling or my eating or spending or whatever it is. But then as I get down deeper to some of these causes and conditions, I can see that some of these things come from just the way that I was raised and some of the belief systems that I bought into and internalized stories about things that I heard as I was going along, and I never really stopped long enough to really pay attention to, do they fit? Do they still work? And if they don't, why do I still keep trying to use them? A lot of coping mechanisms, you know, that were born out of a family system that might not have been the healthiest. So this is where I get to stop and ask myself, you know, how am I doing? How's it going? What can I do differently? Is this still working for me? And these are some really, you know, profound insights that come up for me and give me an opportunity to work on this. So I don't get to rest on my laurels, as they say in some of the literature. You know, that it is work. And, you know, the fact is that when I do this work, I've been placed in a position of neutrality. You know, I'm safe and protected, not just from drinking or drugs or whatever the reason is that I came here, but I'm safe and protected from my ego. I'm safe and protected from what other people think, you know, which is really my ego, you know, and that it doesn't mean that I'm not going to slip into that stuff. It just means that I don't have to stay there. I don't have to live in that fear. I don't have to live in that ego-driven, self-centered fear, and that there is another way. And that's just my, you know, my humanness. That's just how I react. So this is why I'm here, is to carry out God's will. And, you know, I always say, how do you know it's God's will? Because I don't really want to do it. I really would like to be sitting on the couch eating bonbons and not have to really answer the phone, not have to do this work, not have to think about this. But the truth is that that will have consequences, and you know, they're not going to be good. So you know, my job here is to get my will in line with God's will, the proper use of my will, because I do have a self-will. I do have a free will. And I heard somebody say one time that the greatest gift that God ever gave me is my free will, and the greatest gift that I can ever offer back to God is my free will. And so once I do that, it's to get in line with doing God's will. And here's a thing that I found out, was that for a long time I was trying to do God's will my way, and that didn't work either. So a lot of the times, you know, how do I know it's God's will? Because I don't really want to do it. And so, you know, this is really a terrific step. We continue to go along in this process of the 12 steps. Congratulations if you've made it this far. This is really a great accomplishment, because now we get to do what a lot of people call the maintenance steps, 10, 11, and 12. Continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I want to get this stuff cleared up as fast as possible because I want to keep moving. I don't want to stop here. It gets exciting, and it gets too exciting for me to stop now. So I hope that you have some of that enthusiasm. I hope that you understand that this is really such a great process. It's not an event, but it is so worth moving along and following along the lines of recovery in these 12-step programs. Thank you for waiting for this video to drop. Thank you for your patience, and thank you for helping me to remember why it was so important for me to do these videos in the first place, because this is life-changing stuff, you guys, and I'm really happy and grateful that you have found it interesting enough to keep going with me. So thanks, and I'll see you soon for step 11. And don't forget, there are apps. I don't use them, but there are apps on the phone that you can do step 10s daily. It makes it really easy. Easy? No, but makes it simple. All right? I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.